to paint a really simple landscape today. Today I just want to play with my new colors that I've gotten from Ferris Wheel Press over the past few months. First, I just added clean water in the background. I'm going to start with Lantern Crossing here at the top. And this is going to be a sunset landscape with mountain layers in the front. So what I do, this will be a gradient wash, is you start with the darkest at the top, and then as you go down, you start adding with a clean brush more water, and it causes the color to smooth down into your landscape. As long as you keep it wet, the ink is going to start soaking into your paper, but it won't give you hard lines as long as you keep everything wet. So now I switch to that Golden Gate Glow. I really like the orangey. It's kind of a peachy color because you want it to look like a sunset, so you want the darker color to be at the top. I started painting with these inks last year, and I just really like the variety that it gives. These are my favorite, these Ferris Wheel Press inks. I just like the vibrancy of the color. So see, I'm gonna add this Lantern Crossing again. Just look at that vibrancy. And I like that they have shimmer, so you'll see it when it dries. It's gonna have a nice shimmer here. And so in my sky, I'm gonna add some nice texture here on this wet on wet. Just kind of want that wispy cloud appearance. As long as it's wet, it's going to blend in real smooth and give you a nice soft appearance. But once it starts to dry, it won't be like that anymore. All right, so we're going to let this dry and then we'll come back. All right, we're going to start adding some clouds to this. So I waited until my painting was all the way dry. With the ink, the nice thing is it really doesn't lift as much when you add the water. You want to make sure it's nice and dry. But once it's soaked in, you're not going to have as much lifting as you would with some of the watercolor. All right, so I'm going to start with this Lantern Crossing for clouds, and then I'm going to move on to the purples. So I add water to my entire page, and then I pick up my ink, turn my brush on the side, and then like rubbing it in like this. And then pretty quickly I'll get my purple also. Kind of want it almost like a shadow. And the sunset is here, so the shadow of the cloud is going to be behind the cloud, kind of on that top portion. So you want to leave your darkest areas on the side away from the sunset. I'm going to start adding a few wispy ones on here. I use that Golden Gate Glow. People often ask me how I make my clouds really soft, and actually my secret weapon is my fingertips. Whenever I add the color, I often use my fingertips to rub it in one way or the other, and I find that it blends in the ink or the watercolor paint that I'm using in with the background really well. Another important tip is to try to achieve as much contrast as you can in your clouds. It'll give them dimension and depth and make them really, really interesting. I really like how this is turning out. I added some ink for the layers. We started the mountain layers here, and it's a little damp in the background, so it kind of made it bled into the water behind it. But I like it because it makes it look like there's little trees sprouting. So I'm gonna let this dry some more, and we're gonna keep adding some darker layers here in the front. With the mountains, one of the biggest things is to just be sporadic with it. You don't want it to look like nature is not perfect. So this mountain, I'm using two colors. For the top, I have that Lantern Crossing, and then at the bottom, I'm gonna darken it up and add some of this Gossiping Grapevine. So I'm gonna keep adding layers for my mountain landscape, but I just wanted to point out to you, this was ink that was added on a wet background, and see just that beautiful blend. It goes up into the sky. It makes a really misty effect, and it kind of almost looks like trees there in the background. And I almost wish that I had done the same for this next layer. See how this is a hard line? It goes all the way across. This was painted on a dry background. So I'm going to keep adding for this landscape the ink onto a dry background, but then we will, I think I'm probably going to do in the future, try every layer with that wet the ink on the wet background. I really, really like that. And I just keep adding layers. You want your mountain ranges to be sporadic and not look exactly symmetrical, because nothing in nature is perfect. And again, I do the line, but then I go ahead and paint all the way down, because you will get, with the ink, you will get a hard line at the bottom, and you definitely don't want that. For this layer, I am adding Whispers of Twilight. I really like this. It's a very warm, purpley color. I really like to paint in warm tones. Oh, I will add that if you want to add some texture to this, what you can do is even just take a clean brush, and you can even add just like water spots. You could add, so as it dries, you know, that water will make kind of an interesting texture. Even blooms are really cool. It's going to move that shimmer around. And you can even add some darker purple in areas if you want to, because nature is not just one color in these hills. So that's something I like to do. Maybe even add up at the top. Some birds to my painting. So I picked a brush with a really fine point. I think you can see that. It's really nice point, and I'm gonna get a little bit of that ink on there. I'm gonna start always from the middle, and I start in the middle and I do little V's. You can even go down. Again, I always start from the middle. You can even go side to side. I find that if you do it this way, that the tips of the wings will be finer. But if you start at the tip and then you pull in, the tip of the wing will be very thick. It'll be thicker than you want. But if you do it this way, and you're sweeping that out like that, then it'll be really fine. I'm gonna add a bigger bird here. For here, I start in the middle with that tail area, and then I'm gonna go up and down. Add a few more on this side. And that concludes our tutorial for today. All that remains is for you to remove your tape and design your painting with pride. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please subscribe to my channel and drop a comment below with what you'd like to see next.